All right, good afternoon. Let us begin. We're holding Sif Zion which is in the middle of the discussion of the halachos of Hashavas Gezeilah. We learned about the Isser of Gezeilah and of Gneva, the prohibition to steal, and Oishek and Leisachmid. And now, beginning with Sivav, we're learning about the obligations that someone has if they did steal, what obligations they have to return the stolen objects, and how that process should be gone about. So Sif Zayin. When somebody, a repentant thief, comes on his own to do tshuva and to pay back the monetary value of what he stole, we learned in Sivav that if the stolen object is still extant, is still in existence, then he is obligated to return the object itself. He can't pay off the monetary value of the object. But if it no longer exists, if it's gone, so then he's obligated to pay the value of the object in cash. So when he comes on his own to pay that back, Chazal decreed that we should not accept it from him, so that he should not be prevented from doing tshuva. In what case? If we're dealing with somebody who's a professional career criminal, most of his livelihood, most of the money that he has came from theft. So if he's going to start paying back everything that he owes, he's going to be left with nothing, and it's going to become very, very difficult to ever do tshuva. So therefore, Chazal said, if a professional ganav or gazlan comes to return what he stole, you don't take it from him. Therefore, Chazal commanded that the victims of the theft should forgive the theft in order to give the ganev, the gazlin, the opportunity to do tshuva. It's called takanas hashavim. And if he says, nevertheless, even though you forgave me, I want to pay you back. I want to be Yetzei Deshamayim. I want to go beyond the letter. Strictly speaking, he owes the owner a certain he owes the owner whatever he stole from him, but he could be Michael. He says, nevertheless, I want to go beyond the letter of the law, and I want to fulfill the mitzvah of Hilchos Gezeilah. So then Chazal said, okay, we're not going to stop you if you want to accept it, if he's really stubborn and he insists on returning what he stole. But Me'ikar Adin, it's incumbent on the original owner, on the victim, to forgive the Gzeilah. Only if it's a ganav a gazlan meforsim shasaka b'kach. If it's somebody who was a one-off, crime of passion or crime of opportunity, a petty theft, so then you're allowed to take it back. There's no takanas hashav. I'm talking about somebody who, if they would start paying back, they would be left with nothing. In that case, you're not supposed to accept it. However, all of this applies if he's coming to pay back the cash value of what he stole. But if the original object, the gneva gazela, is still intact, it still exists, so then you don't have to be meichel. The ganav or the gazlan should give it back as is. If the victim who was stolen from owes money to other people, he also has debts. So then, then in any case, the ganav comes and says, "Here, I owe you money." Should not be meichel. You should take it back because you also have a person also has chayvus. So then they have to take it back to pay back their own chayvus. This halacha interestingly comes from the Sefer Chassidim, and the Sefer Chassidim you see on the screen. The Shach brings it down in Cheshem Mishpat Sim Shin Samach Vav. But everything else over here comes from the Gemara. It's a story in the Gemara, Bava Kama Daf Tzadik Daled, about a certain Ganev and Gazlan Meforsim. the Gemara says about the Mechad Shabikash Lasis Tshuva. There was a person who wanted to do Tshuva. Amr Lo Ishta, his wife said to him, Reika. Reika means empty one. Even if you want to do tshuva, even the belt that you're wearing won't belong to you. You're gonna have to sell everything to you. You made your entire living for the last so many decades from theft. If you start paying everything back, you're gonna be left with nothing. So what happened? The Gemara says so he didn't do tshuva. So at that time, Chazal said, and they said this is not okay, and they said, Hagazlanin umalve ribis she'achziru ein mekabel mehen. Gazlanim, professional thieves, umalve beribis, and those who lend money on interest. Again, also professionally. The halach is it's obviously usher to lend money with ribis, and if you do, you have to pay it back. But someone who made all their parnasa from ribis, if they start giving it back, they're going to be left with nothing. So they're in the same category of gazlanim over here. Ein mekabel mehem, you should not accept it from them. The victor should not accept it from them. And one who does accept it, then Chazal, Chachamim were not pleased with such a person. Besmeh in Siman Shin Samach Vav, Sivkat and Aleph, adds an additional point that again, even if the Gazlan is going to be theoretically left with something, let's say he's wealthy from other means, nevertheless, because it's such a tremendous amount that he has to give back, and such a tremendous effort and amount of money, it's going to prevent him from doing tshuva, and therefore somebody who made a professional living off of theft, Takanas Hashavim applies to them, and if they come to return their stolen goods, they should not be accepted. The final point, two more points. Number one is, like we mentioned over here, we're talking about Gazlan v'Gazlan Meforsim Shasaka Bakach. This only applies to somebody who is a professional, who would be very difficult for them to do tshuva. The second condition for Takanas Hashavim to apply is the first two words in the Sif, Kshabame Atzme. He comes on his own, he decided on his own he wants to do tshuva. Now we're in Elul, so it's the time of tshuva, so he comes, it's Elul, Shoshan is coming, he had to hear tshuva, and he wants to do tshuva, I want to return everything, so then Chazal say, don't accept it. But if he didn't come on his own, if he was caught, and you have to run after him, then the halacha is that he has to pay back everything. There is no takanas hashavim. You take away everything that is stolen that is in his possession, and you force him to pay back the monetary value of what he doesn't have anymore. The last point in the Sif is that the second to last point is that im ha'uGeneivah gazela kayames. If it's still intact, if it's still in existence, then you don't have to be meichel. Takanas Hashavim only applies to monetary value of stolen objects, not stolen goods themselves. However, as we mentioned a similar idea in the previous year, also Takanas Hashavim, that if it's something, even though generally there's a mitzvah in the Torah Gazila to return the actual object that was stolen if it's intact. However, if it was built into a building, and in order to extract it, you would have to tear down an entire building. For example, the Smeh says, I'll read the Lashon, afilu mihi kayemes, even if the stolen object is in existence, im bana lao binyan ein tzarich lahachzir, then you don't have to return it, because again, Chazal made over here takanas hashavim, because this is also something that would stand in the way of somebody who wishes to do tshuva, even though it's just giving back something that he stole, but again, it comes at a tremendous loss and a tremendous effort. So in that case, he's not obligated to do it. She should pay back the again, like we learned last in Sivav, he should pay back the monetary value of the stolen object. And in a case of a gun, if a gazlan meforsim, then even though Mitzad himself, he should pay it back, but you should not accept it from him. Okay. Sivches. If the thief is embarrassed to return what he stole to his victim. Then he is able to disguise the money by when he's engaged in a business transaction, in a business negotiation with the victim. So if Reuven is buying something from Shimon for $100, but he also owes him another $50 for something that he stole from him. So he gives him a pile of 20s, and he sticks in an extra 50 for what he owes him. That is one way that he's able to fulfill his obligation of returning the stolen object. If he's not actively engaged in business transactions with the victim of his theft, so then what are you supposed to do? So you can give it to someone else who is who is engaged in business with that person, and he can deliver it surreptitiously on the ganev's behalf. Or he could put it into his wallet, or into his pocket that has money in it. Because a person frequently checks their pocket, their purse, their wallet, wherever they keep their money. And when he checks, he's going to count how much money he has. And when he counts how much money he has, he's going to know. He's going to come up with a number, even if he doesn't realize that the money wasn't there before. But the fact is that now he knows how much money he has. Minyan shalei midas paiter. But if you put it into not a wallet, not a kiss sheyesh b'mais, not a wallet, something that somebody keeps money in, a random bag or purse or box, something that they don't keep money in, lo yatsa until he actually finds it. And if they were lost before he found them, then he did not fulfill the mitzvah of Hashava. Just explain what we're talking about over here. Like we learned in Zivav, in order to fulfill the mitzvah of Hilchos Gezeilah, one is obligated to return the stolen object to the bailim, to the owners. As long as they didn't return to the owners, they did not fulfill the mitzvah of Hilchos Gezeilah, and they continue to be responsible to return it. Therefore, if something happens to it, so the thief continues to be responsible to replace it. So the halacha is that if you steal something from someone, it's not enough, and they're aware of it. They know that it's stolen. They know that it's gone. I mean, they're not paying attention to it anymore. They think it's not there. It's not enough to break back into their house and put it back. And without the owner's knowledge, because again, the lashon is ein zeh hashava ma'aliyah. It's not a proper hashava, because the owners they still don't know that it's there, so they're still not looking out for it. Somebody has to be responsible for this object. So if the thief put it back, so the thief is not responsible for it anymore because he says he put it back, and the owners are not responsible for it because they don't even know that it's there. So no one's responsible for it. It's a shtuki v'asufi. So therefore, the halacha is that's not good enough. The owners have to know. However, if the owners never knew in the first place that it was stolen, so then it's enough to just put it back. But in this case, what we're talking about over here, that the owners did know that it was stolen, it's not enough to just put it back. The owners have to know. Chiddush over here in Sa'if Ches is that if somebody, Reuven, stole cash from Shimon, and Shimon realized, he knows about it, so now Reuven is obligated to return it, and he's obligated to return it in a way that Shimon is going to know about it. If he puts it back in his wallet, Shimon goes to the mikveh, he hangs up his pants. While he's gone, Reuven goes, opens up his wallet, puts the money back in. That's good enough, even though Reuven doesn't know that the money was returned. Nevertheless, because Adam because a person is always counting the money. He's always looking through the wallet, and when he counts, he's going to realize maybe he won't realize that the money was returned, but he'll realize that he has a certain amount of money in his wallet. So now he's paying attention to this, and now he's guarding it, and he knows this is how much money I have. That is considered hashavim aliyah. That is a good enough. That is a good enough. A minyan shalei midas poiter. That exempts the thief from the obligation of v'heshev Gezeilah. But like I said over here, if you just put it in a random bag or box, not in a wallet where they keep their money, something where it doesn't have money, so he's not thinking to check there to count how much money is in there, because why would he? So then that's not good enough, and then you actually have to inform the owners that it was returned. To bring it down to another practical example, there's a sefer, contemporary sefer of Hilchos Gezeilah, recently from Mechaber Rav in Eretz Yisrael. It's called Hilchos Gezeilah Yavi Yedid. So in the sefer, there's a story as follows. It was a woman who works in an office, and in the office there's a printer, as common in offices. And for whatever reason, the employees at the office sometimes use the printer to print things for their own personal use. Now, whether or not they should or should not have been doing that lechatchila, the fact is that they're doing it in a place where the boss is there, the owner is there. He was aware of it, and he was clearly not makbet. He was clearly meichel. So, well, the reality was that they were doing it in a way that was permitted, because the owner gave them implicit permission to use the printer in this way. One day, one of the employees at the office receives a file, email, whatever. She doesn't realize how big it is. She wants to print it out. She hits print, and it starts printing. And then she goes over to the printer. Lo and behold, it was 145 pages. The shaila was, is she obligated to reimburse the owner somehow? So the answer to the shaila that he gives over there in Yavi Yedid says, first of all, even though, yes, she is obligated to return, even though it's accepted in this office that you need to print something out for your own personal use, so it's okay. The owner is not makbid. He never accepted upon himself that you could print yourself out an entire cookbook, an entire novel, 145 pages. That was not included in the permission that was given. So she is obligated to return it. But if the owner doesn't know that she did this, that she printed it, since she doesn't have to inform him, she just has to pay him back. The way it says over there in the sefer, I don't know exactly what that means, but to bring it back and to deliver the money into the owners, which is obviously paper you could just replace in the printer. Ink is a little bit harder, so that would have to be the monetary value of the ink. But the nekuda is that the owner does not have to be informed, because he didn't know about the geniva. It's an accidental geniva, but it's a geniva nonetheless. He doesn't know about the geniva, so therefore he doesn't have to be informed about the geniva. But the woman in that case was obligated to pay back what she took. In Shulchan Aruch and Siman Shin and Hey, there's another detail in this halacha. It's not so common, but l'shleimus ha'inyan, it's kedai to mention that the halacha that if the owner was not aware of the theft, that you don't have to inform them, you can just put it back, applies only to inanimate objects. But to animals, to Balei Chayim, then you actually have to let the owner know, because the lashon is You stole a sheep and you took it out, so now you taught the sheep a new way to get out. So because we're dealing with something that has a mind of its own, so therefore it's not good enough to just put it back. You actually have to let the owners know. Another thing to point out that everything we're talking about over here in Sivav and Zion is all have to do with how to be Mekayim, the mitzvah of Veheshiv es Hagzela. However, there is another important point that the Rambam writes in Hilchos Tshuva, Perek Beis, Halacha Tes, Aveir sheben adam lachaveri, k'gein ha'chayvel es chaveri, ei ha'mekal chaveri, ei gazlei, Aveiros that are between one person and another person, for example, somebody who curses someone or hurts someone or steals from someone, person is not forgiven for these Aveiros until they return what was taken, and Yaratzehu, they have to make amends and appease the victim of their crime. Still has to appease him and ask him for forgiveness. Just an important point to mention. The Aruch HaShulchan actually brings this down in Erech Chaim and Hilchos Gezeilah and Yom Kippur and Siman Tafresh Beis and Tafresh Vav. So that's Davar Be'ite. Continuing in Sivches, somebody who stole from many people and he doesn't know who to return to. For example, tax collectors. I'm not dealing with tax collectors like tax collectors nowadays. Tax collectors in olden times, in times of the Gemara, in times of perhaps also in the times of Shulchan Aruch, where the king would sell the right to collect taxes to private individuals, and they were able to, and they obviously wielded some power. They were collecting taxes on behalf of the king. They obviously used to extort much more money than there was actually they were supposed to collect for taxes. The taxes that you're supposed to collect from, they're supposed to pay to the king as Dina de Malchusas. We'll see later in the simon that's rightfully owed. But what's the Meichsim would take more than what Yoiser Mikitzvasim Shenasan Lahem HaMelech, that is just Gzela. V'chein HaGaboyim HaMemunim and HaMelech Ligbis HaMas. And also similar types of tax collectors, toll collectors, who would collect certain fees on behalf of the king or the government, and they wouldn't keep it for themselves, but they would for their friends and relatives, they would allow them to pay less, and they would make up the deficit by charging more from other people. This is Gzeila Gemara. Alter Rebbe says it's not, even though you're not stealing it for yourself, you're stealing it on behalf of someone else. It's Gzeila. And other community officials who do similar things. Shuvas kasha. It's very hard for them to do tshuva because they're stealing from the public for a very long time. There's so many people. It's hard. It's difficult to know where to start returning. So therefore, what's the eitzah? They should do something for the benefit of the public with the money that they stole. Like digging wells, so that even the victims of the theft should also benefit from the tzarchei rabim, from the wells that were dug. The Aruch HaShulchan says that when somebody was gazela serabim, and the solution to their how they're supposed to pay back is by Yasser Tzarchei Rabim. The Aruch HaShulchan says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisavev, Hashem is going to make it come about that everyone who was stolen from will get their fair share. But you have to do your part and do Tzarchei Rabim. And to do Tzarchei Rabim, to give something for the public that will create a benefit that the victims could benefit from. Tzarchei Rabim has to be Tzarchei Rabim, like it sounds like something that's for the public, like the example over here, digging wells. Everyone needs water, so you're digging wells. That's something that everybody needs, that everybody's going to use. To give tzedakah is not Tzarchei Rabim. It goes only to poor people. That's not their Rabim. That's one demographic. to donate money to a mosque. It's very nice. Tzedakah is a wonderful thing, but this is not considered tzarchei rabim. The example that's given in the Gemara and the Alter Rebbe mentions here is to dig wells. Nowadays, to build a water fountain or to sponsor a water fountain is would be the same thing. Other examples of tzarchei rabim that contemporary poskim mention are building hospitals or donating to hospitals, even though not everybody is sick, but again, everybody benefits from having a hospital in town. Building or sponsoring public bathrooms, especially near public places like shuls and cemeteries. Even in places where there are already bathrooms, to build sinks. All these things are considered tzarchei rabim. Igris Meisha, Cheshen Mishpat Chelek Aleph Sim Peiches, Meisha writes that building mikvahs is considered tzarchei rabim, and therefore he's writing to someone over there who was a Gazila Rabbonim. He was asking how he should do tshuva. Moshe recommended him to donate to mikvahs because he says mikvahs are tzarchei rabim. Nevertheless, tzarchei rabim is a good thing, and it's a good solution for somebody who doesn't know who he stole from. Because the mitzvah is, we learned in Sifal already, Hilchos Gezeilah. You have to return the Gzeilah to the owners. However, to do tzarchei rabim is not returning it to the owners. It's returning it to the rabbim and hoping for the best. So therefore, it's not considered a tshuva haguna. It's not considered a tshuva ma'aliyah. The Alter Rebbe, the Rashbam says this in Bava Basra, and the Alter Rebbe brings it in Cheshen Mishpat in Hilchos Midus u'Mishkal Sif Tazayin. And therefore, as he concludes over here, Mikol Makam Oisem Anashim Shehim Makirim Shem Gazlu Mihem Chayavim Lahachzir Lahem. Those people who he knows that he stole from, he has to return to them directly. And it's not enough to give to tzarchei rabim, even though you see, I gave to tzarchei rabim, I built a well, and I see that Pliny ben Pliny, who I stole from, he's going and he's benefiting from the well. So I'm pater. I did my I did what I needed to do to return the tzarchei rabim. The halacha is no. V'heshev es gzeilah. You have to return to the baila. Tzarchei rabim is only a solution when there's nothing better to do. And so to somebody who is a malva biribis, like we mentioned earlier, somebody who lends money on interest to the Armim and he doesn't know who to return to, so should do the same thing, tzarchei rabim. One final point that I want to mention is that over here it says somebody who stole from a lot of people and he doesn't know who he should return to. In today's day and age, there is heichetinsa where somebody stole something and they know exactly who they stole it from, and nevertheless there's no one to return it to. And that's because there's something called an LLC, which is a legal entity that has no owner. It has members who are shaykh to it, but there's no one owner. So in the Sefer Piskei HaMishpat, he brings down from the Sefer Ashri Ha'ish, which I do not have, but it's from Rabbi Yashiv, and he brings down over there that somebody who stole from an LLC should just simply return the object somewhere into the rishus of the company, and it will be considered in a place where it's definitely gotta get back to them. Somebody stole a banana from Walmart. I don't know if Walmart is an LLC, but let's say it is. Then they should have to take a banana and go back into Walmart and put it back on the banana stand, and that is how they should fulfill their obligation to return the stolen object. And with that, we will conclude for today. Until Be'ezus Hashem next week. Thank you very much.